Welcome to episode 16 of the Science of Advertising show, the show where we talk all things neuroscience, advertising, and effective communication. The show where we disclose the advertising secrets that brands use to influence and persuade human behavior. And on today's show, we have Dr. Jarrod Cooney Horvath. Welcome to the show, Dr. J, episode 16.
Oh, man, it's taken us a while between 15 and 16, but we made it. We're back. The world is a little quieter, and we can focus once again on the science of advertising.
Let's get stuck right into it. Let's have a look at some of the latest work that's just come out, and we've reviewed this brand before, if you recall. So this is Get Mosh.
G'day, Wayne Carey here to talk about the one thing more important than footy. Men's health. With Mosh, your online men's health clinic. Hair loss, hair loss, hair loss, hair loss. Blokes can get a bit embarrassed or lazy about finding solutions for this stuff. Head to getmosh.com.au for proven treatments by accredited Aussie doctors. It's all online, discreet and affordable, with treatments delivered fast and free. Come on, lads, get your health sorted at getmosh.com.
And there we have it, Get Mosh. A little bit different to the last one we reviewed. Dr. J, I'm just going to go straight to you to get your thoughts on this.
So there was one interesting thing, and maybe it was just on the version that I had, but the version you have, does he just say hair loss 4 times in a row right in the middle of it?
He certainly does.
Oh, see, my thought was, so Mosh must do more than hair loss though, right?
They do. Like, it's men's health, but it's pretty much sexual health, as in erectile dysfunction and hair loss.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking. Like, they could have said hair loss, penis growth, or whatever it's going to be, mental health, whatever the other things are going to be. So I found that little part a little strange, but at the end of the day, it's a simple, straightforward ad. I can imagine this costs next to nothing. They had their celebrity anchor who they introduced right at the beginning, who seems to fit the brand decently. I guess he's a footy player who needed hair. Wayne Carey, is that who it was?
Well done. That's why I threw it to you, because I wanted to see if you actually got it. So
I think he's in one of the pictures, the last hair loss one. So look, is this going to change the game? No. Is this going to write home to your mother about this? No. Is this get the message across? Yes. Does it make it clear what the company is doing? Yes. Does it make it choose a spokesman that has something to do with the brand? Yes. So I'm going to say, look, it's not starburst and rainbows and fireworks and all that, but shoot, so far as I can tell, man, it gets the job done. I know what the company is, I know what it does, and I know the web address. So if I need hair restoration, I know where to go. What do you think?
Look, there's 2 parts to me, and I'm a little bit torn with it. Like, I love the Wayne Carey introduction from the previous ad. And knowing a little bit about the story with Mosh, that Wayne actually just mentioned it on Triple M one day on radio, and he started going to town on how great this product is, and how it's restored his hair. And I remember the first time I ever saw this brand, and I think I mentioned it last time, was actually on Foxtel. And they're just like, "Oh, Wayne, what have you done to your hair?" And he's just like, "Oh, I'm using this new product. It's Get Mosh." And they're just like, "Look at it. I can literally just see it growing right now. Like, you've had a haircut in during the break." And they're making all these jokes just off the cuff, and it was unscripted. And it went off. Yeah. Like, it was a great piece of content. So I think kudos to them for actually securing him as a talent, because he wasn't paid for that particular performance, but he's used the product and he loves it. But in terms of a celebrity anchor, he's brilliant. Like, his nickname is the King or the Duck. I kind of like the joke in there as well with the animation, because it brought it to life. What I would have really loved to have seen was at least the first part and the end with Wayne to camera to really establish him as the trusted authority, as the individual, the celebrity anchor that sits there, because you can't miss it, and it's very overt. Rather than subtleties when they go hair loss, hair loss, hair loss. I actually love that section because you can't get it wrong. They are just focusing on hair loss. They've just shown you 4 before and afters. You've got distinction bias there, which is contrast. So I think overall, is it a very memorable ad? No. Is it going to drive response? Yes.
Remember what we were talking about when we always talk about a prediction break for attention. The interesting thing they did at that hair loss section, and it's why I had to talk about it, is it's a massive prediction break. They used the same phrase. So it wasn't him saying hair loss 4 times. Like if you wrote me down, say hair loss 4 times, I would intone it differently. I'd say hair loss, hair loss, hair loss, and hair loss. But they didn't. What they did is they took him saying hair loss once and they just repeated it 4 times, which triggered, and I'm sure everyone notices it. It's a very weird prediction break where you think something just happened wrong. Something looped in that commercial when it shouldn't have. And it just pulled your attention right over to what the heck it was doing. So that little moot choice was an incredibly smart choice. If someone wasn't paying attention, they have to now, because it feels like the commercial broke. That's why I even had to ask you, did I get a broken version of it? It felt so clearly broken. But because of that, what am I thinking about and talking about a half hour later? Hair loss, hair loss, hair loss, hair loss. So it did its job really well. Is it the sexiest? And you're right. If you could have seen him, I'm totally down with that. But I have noted, if this was, what did you call? I think you use the term like direct marketing, where it's not a sexy...
a direct response ad. It's not about creating deep memory formation. It's about, I've got you. You're in market for hair loss. Here's a product. Take action right now.
And what's good about it is it looks cheap. It looks relatively easy to make. I don't think they broke the bank on this. So if you're doing a direct response, keep it like that. It looks like they could have made that using PowerPoint. Sweet. Look, that's all you need.
If you paid less than $5,000 for the actual animations, you're paying too much. But I actually think this is potentially a radio ad. They've got Wayne to record a radio ad, and they've just got some cheap animations because it would work really well on, except the visuals of the hair loss, but it still would come across on radio, and it still would be that prediction break. The other thing with them, the point of difference in market against, Advanced Hair and Ashley and Martin, these more established players, is that you still have to pretty much go in and see a doctor for treatment, and it's more formal. Whereas Mosh's real point of difference, it's all virtual. It's all over like a 5-10 minute, Zoom or FaceTime, and it's all done and it's very discreet. So that is really their point of difference. And in their previous ad, they actually showed a very trustworthy doctor online on a tablet. And I thought that was a nice part that was missing from this ad, of just how easy it is. Whereas that didn't come through on this creative. This feels like another Ashley and Martin or Advanced Hair. Advanced Hair have used Shane Warne, which is a cricketer forever and a day. That was incredibly successful for them. So now you've got Wayne Carey, the dark. This is the next evolution, but I would have loved to have seen more about their promise, which is the online.
I think until you said it, I didn't get it, but I think you're 100% right. It's a radio ad that they're like, screw it. Let's just put a couple of really cheap visuals on it, throw it on TV, see if we can drive some business. So as just a shot in the dark, go with it. I think, man, if you're looking to see what type of impact advertising on TV would have, that's a great, take your radio ad, throw some pictures on it, keep it as cheap as possible, and just see what the heck happens.
And it should work. And again, what I do like about where they're at now is they've actually got a platform that they can continue to evolve. Wayne Carey spokesperson, have a little bit of humor. And I'd like to introduce the doctor again. You've got a really nice formula that you can just hammer home. And again, males, they tune into a lot of sports, pretty much what they watch. It'll work well in sporting environments. Boom. And so I go, that'll work. Good result. Now, compare the pair.
I was going behind enemy lines.
Get ready to be exposed to the expose of the year.
I had to do what I needed to do.
A major undercover investigation has unearthed the shocking truth.
I worked at Woolworths, and the whole time I was working there, I shopped at ALDI. Why would you pay more if you can get it for less? I would have taken a slap on the wrist for the money in my bank account.
Introducing the Supermarket Whistleblowers.
Did someone say MSG? MSG! No way. Yeah, there's MSG in KFC and something called tripolyphosphate of sodium and silicon dioxide 551.
Not 551.
Some secret herbs and spices are secret for a reason. But grilled healthy fried chicken burgers have no hidden additives.
ALDI and Grilled, as you've seen, both of them are trying to bring down the competitors. So they're clearly the challenger brand. They want to take more market share, and they're taking pot shots at the competition. So we know this because politicians like to deploy the same strategy, try and make the other person look bad. Now, ALDI, I really dislike this ad.
Really dislike this ad.
I really dislike it.
Interesting. Go. Give me more.
Oh, look at you. You're going at another angle. But I didn't like this ad at all. Like it was a real piss take on 60 Minutes. And if you're looking at 60 Minutes, it's usually very negative. Like they're literally the dirtiest of dirty stories they're trying to create and over dramatize them to try and get some audience. And, you know, there is an audience that follow it. But it's usually very negative in terms of what the story is. There's hardly ever good news on 60 Minutes. So the bad news is obvious, but what they did there, I think, was too clever. You know, so the concept was really this. I work at Woolworths, I work at Coles, and I shop at ALDI. That was the narrative they were trying to tell. You know, going like, I actually work at Woolworths, but I shop at ALDI because I want great prices. So I like the thinking behind it. The challenge is it wasn't that overt, or for me, it wasn't that overt. It was kind of subtle. And yes, they changed the tone of it to feel like it was a bit of a piss take on 60 Minutes. The challenge I couldn't get over was that it was so negative, and at the end of it, it was branded ALDI. And I just felt like ALDI's work previously is amazing. It's clever, it's funny, and it's on point, and it's good, different. It's always branded good, different, and it's great, positive, uplifting stuff. This wasn't. And I just couldn't help for feeling that they've anchored their brand to what is quite a negative story. Like, and it's, do you really recall that that's a Coles, Woolworths? Don't want to shop there because I actually shop at ALDI. Bit too clever. Yeah. Or are you anchoring your brand to what is quite a negative story? So that's why I dislike this ad. And I'd be keen to get your thoughts because I think you're going to come at it from a different direction. And then we had grilled. Now, for me, I'd go grilled was definitely the winner because...
No.
Oh, here we go. But I have a caveat.
Okay. Hit me.
So it was really overt that it was KFC that were trying to take down. Like it was KFC and they were trying to take them down in the big way. I thought it was quite catchy, the song. Like it was, I'm not sure what the actual song is, but I've heard it somewhere before.
Yeah, and on KFC ad.
MSG, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you really related, KFC is now anchored to MSG. Do you know? So now I'm saying KFC, MSG, not what you want, and whatever 151 is, but it doesn't sound good, and polyglyceride, whatever it was. But it sounded really negative. It was anchored. Where I thought they got it wrong, they used the same mnemonic for MSG and KFC in their grilled branding. So I've got this negative association with MSG now on grilled branding. And I'm like, fuck no, because now I'm seeing grilled branding song and thinking MSG. So again, I think the branding of that was out. If I was to play it again, I would go just hero KFC as MSG, bad, dark, horrible, everything else. And then I'd nearly not even worry about branding it well in grilled. Be very subtle, really small logo, and just you want the customer just to think negatively around KFC if that's your objective.
So that's interesting. I think collectively you've hit a point, which is if you're going to go the negative route, you have to somehow separate your brand from it. Otherwise, what happens is the negativity bleeds directly into your brand. And now I think, well, screw it. I don't want anything. I might not want KFC, but I also don't want your brand because I've now linked these two things unknowingly together in my mind.
Correct.
So that's mudslinging is incredibly difficult to do and get right. And that's why I think a lot of people won't do it. Like best way to do it, go back to the Coke Pepsi. Pepsi doesn't say Coke sucks. They do a blind taste test. Pepsi wins. And they say, see, Pepsi is better. So that's the difference between saying KFC sucks and saying grilled is better than KFC. So there's a slight difference. You're slinging mud by showing how more superior you are to the other product. In the end, I don't think either of these ads was spectacular. I'm going to go the ALDI one works a little bit better for me. Here's my thinking on this. You're spot on the 60 minutes, right? So anytime I watch a 60-minute ad come on, those things on for Big Brother, 60 minutes, I turn the channel. I couldn't care less. That stuff annoys the living daylights out of me. But the people who don't turn the channel are exactly the type of people who ALDI is probably trying to target. And I don't mean it like this is going to sound horrible, but ALDI is a cheaper supermarket brand. So most of their initial customer share, large customer share, is going to be the cheaper end of the market to get people not shopping at Kohl's who would really benefit from shopping at Aldi and go, oh, dang, this is really easy and nice for me. Those people, I think, really would resonate with that 60 minutes thing. And as soon as they hear the dark music and see the thing, my guess is their attention is like, yeah, what's on 60 Minutes tonight? And they're so into that because that's their jam that when it comes out being a joke and it's for Aldi, they might go, that's wonderful, I'm going to Aldi. So like, I think they were really specifically targeting a market who I think would have responded to that style of ad. I'm not that type of person. I don't think you are either. I hear 60 Minutes come on. I'm like, okay, a neighbor yelling at a neighbor because they're two people who have nothing else to do with their lives. See you later. I'm going to turn on Antiques Roadshow. Yes, I said that because I'm a loser. But in terms of just layout, it was more clear it was an Aldi ad. It was more clear they were slinging mud, and they tried to have fun with it by having the people blow the whistle and then ending in a bright light. I saw what they were doing. Was it perfect? No. Will it grab the attention of the people they want? Yes. Is it as good as the normal stuff Aldi does? No. I'd stick with what you're doing. You already do so much weird, fun, cheap, awesome stuff. Just keep doing that, man. If anyone's going to shop at Aldi, they probably already would have. Do what you do. The KFC grilled one, on the other hand, there wasn't a thing good about that ad, if you ask me. Okay, let's just start. Let's break it down into three things. One, we're selling grilled burger. The only time you see that grilled burger is in that dude's hands. It looks nasty. From frame one to the last frame, that burger does not look tasty. It looks like a smushed, like they used one burger for the entire film shoot, and the takes they used were like later in the day, so the thing was getting white and shriveled. Did you notice that the burger did not look appetizing in the least?
But at the start of the frame,
yeah. Well, the dude's sitting there on the couch with the burger.
It's supposed to be a KFC burger.
Oh, I thought that was a grilled burger.
No, it's supposed to be a KFC burger. That's why it's like, why are you eating KFC that's got MSG?
What? That is the stupidest commercial I've ever seen. If you're gonna poke fun at KFC, show the chicken. Don't show a bun. I wouldn't know that KFC served a burger from Man on the Moon, because in the KFC ads, they have the ones with the stick in the bucket. Oh, that was a...
So you've actually pulled up a really valid point, because where they had a flaw in that setup was KFC wasn't well branded. It was sitting on the coffee table in front of him, but it was very small. Like it should have gone into KFC where you see like literally the branding, and then you go up to him. Like it needed to be more overt that it was KFC. So like you actually raise a very valid point.
So that was, take it from a guy who was just good rule of thumb. If I'm sitting there watching it, I thought the entire time that was a grilled burger and that they were ripping on KFC to say that this burger is better. And I'm like, your burger looks nasty. If you're going to rip on a thing called Kentucky Fried Chicken, show chicken. Yeah, they might serve a burger. They might also serve a Coke, but you don't want to make fun of KFC while holding a Coke. It's pick the biggest target you can and hit it.
When you're trying to show this is what the competitors do, if you want that, go there. This is what we do. If you want that, come to us.
Yeah.
This is distinction bias. It's contrast. The best way to do that is going, here is coffee pods at Woolworths. It costs you $7.50. Here's coffee pods at Aldi. It's $2.80. Mm-hmm. Like same message, but very simple. You can't f it up. Yeah. Like it's right in your face. It's not too clever. Same with burger. You go, on the left is a burger from KFC. It has MSG. It has this. It has that. On the right is a burger from Grilled. It's this. It's that. It's that. You can't f it up.
If like that's it, and that's it, then you don't have to even pot shot. All you're doing is you're making it. You're just distinction bias. You've gone from slinging mud to just pure distinction bias, and say, you know, I know, we all know from this distinction, one is better than the other. But I never had to bad talk. I didn't have to be clever. I just said, here, we got this, they got this. Make a choice.
Because the challenge with advertising, the numbers are quite staggering. I think the latest numbers, it's 63% of ads are misattributed to a different brand.
Yeah.
So now you go, even if I'm trying to brand my ad well, people are confusing it or anchoring it to another brand. And we've seen it before. Like there was quite a famous one. I think we've spoken about it with ING, where another bank was pushing out this product, but ING was just harvesting it because they confused the brand and the anchor. And now you're slinging mud which are negative, and you've got your brand at the end of it, whoa, the last thing I want to do is anchor a negative message to my brand. I wouldn't even go there down this strategy. That's why I don't like it. And that's why I think both of these are a great example of I wouldn't endorse it, because I think there's a much better strategy of getting the same outcome that you're after.
And if you're spot on too, because like take this one, anyone who thinks about it, and that's a huge number, 63% of misattribution. That's a massive number. That should get people's heads going, oh, we got to focus on this. But this one, no one will misattribute it to KFC. But the point is 63% of people will most likely attribute it to nothing. They will remember it as the anti-KFC ad, but the pro nothing ad. Like I don't know, because there wasn't that clear, distinct contrast. I'm not 100% sure that this is a grilled ad is really gonna. Had you not written grilled in the email you sent me, I'm not 100% sure I would have known the hell I was watching.
But even there, so what you may do if you're effective in this strategy with MSG is you'll impact KFC. So there might be, 2%, 5%, whatever it may be, that just go second guess their KFC. Where else can I go? That, cool, you've taken some share, but I haven't owned that they're going to go to grilled. Like, that's what they want to try and do. They want to bring someone else down and us up. But if you're going to do it, use distinction bias. It is clean. It is pure, like just facts, data, evidence. Like if you do have a point of difference, it's not clever though. And I think that's where creatives want to go clever.
If you're going to do this, and there's two more things you want to remember if you're going to do this. One is what's called the transience effect. Is if I'm forced to hold something in mind while you're making the comparison, chances are I'm not going to be able to do that. So when you make a comparison, they have to be close within space and they have to be close within time. Otherwise, there is no comparison. There's just memory and me trying to remember something later. So in this instance, all the KFC stuff happens at the front end. Then their burger comes in at the end. By that point, we have the transience effect. I've never actually compared your burger to their burger. I've compared your burger to my memory of what the heck I was just talking about, and who knows what that may or may not have been. But if you bring them congruent in time, so I see them at the same time, now you're not relying at all on my memory, and it's a straight comparator effect. So we see this a lot in class. Like, think about it educationally, where I give you instructions on a task and I say, just everyone sit. I'm going to give you a set of instructions. Now go do it. And half the kids they'll get through instruction one. They'll be like, what the hell are we supposed to do now? Because there's a transience effect. I took what I needed you to be thinking and what I need you to be doing, and I separated them in time, and now you couldn't do the two. So if you're going to do a comparison, one, bring them together. And two, if you're going to do a comparison, compare apples to apples. Like if Aldi says, go back to your example, and Aldi's like, coffee pods cost $7.99 at Woolworths, but bananas cost 99 cents here at ALDI. That's not a fucking comparison. If you're going to KFC, chances are you want chicken. If you're now comparing KFC chicken to a burger, dude, whoever is going to KFC doesn't want a burger. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been going to KFC. And if they are getting a burger at KFC, it's going to be a chicken burger, which is not what grilled does. They do hamburgers. Well, that's You've now compared apples and oranges.
They're trying to introduce their chicken burger range, and I think this was the launch of it. Look, the fact that you can't recall any of it suggested. I'll retract the fact that Dr. J can't recall that KFC was actually the burger that was meant to look shit on screen, and it was supposed to be anchored to MSG, and he didn't even know it was a grilled ad.
No.
Look.
That was weird. That was a weird commercial. I didn't like it. I did not.
First time ever. I'm just going to go, they're both a fail. There are no winners here, only losers.
And that's an umbrella. If you're going to be doing mudslinging, that's just not your probably strongest. If you do it, there's a way I'm sure to do it, but it's not safe.
Well, it's interesting. Like if I go to Weapons of Influence, the 12 principles that influence, persuade human behavior that marketing and advertisers use, mudslinging never features.
Yeah. No, making fun of somebody else, probably not the best way to make yourself look good.
No, that whole principle hinges on distinction bias, which is comparator. So we don't even focus on it. It's never recommended. So it's just interesting. It's kind of why I just thought it might be interesting to discuss the mudslinging.
I like strategy. That. I actually think we got to a good spot with that. Can I make one more point though, by the way?
Last point, final takeaway.
MSG isn't actually bad. So anyone who actually knows anything in the food field or even who just listens to random podcasts about this will have learned that the whole issue with MSG started with a joke letter from a guy named Dr. Homon Kwok, or Human Kwok, a croc, written in 1963 to Nature. It was just a pure, blatant racist joke letter. A couple of years later, there was one research study done with mice where they injected them with like 25 times more MSG than a human being could ever meaningfully tolerate. And they saw that the mice, it stunted their growth. That's it. As far as research on MSG goes, that's it. All research past that has demonstrated MSG has no real impact on human beings. Some people still claim it, but this shows the power of thinking and story. Like my wife swears she has an MSG intolerance. And so whenever she gets it, she gets a headache at Chinese restaurants. She always gets flush. She cannot have MSG. So what do? We snuck a little MSG in her food when she didn't know it, just in one of her salads one night. Did she get flush? No. Did she have a headache? No. Did she even notice? No. This is the placebo effect of story. People are so scared of MSG. There's nothing to be scared of. And so anyone in the know who sees that and says, you're making fun of KFC for using MSG, when you could have talked about saturated fats or sugar content, or you picked one thing that's really not that bad, and that's going to be your big mudsling. Hey, this guy wears weird socks. That's not a put down. There's no reason for me to stop talking to this dude because of his socks, just like
I'm
MSG
not sure what I love more, the fact that I can just go eat as much MSG as I want, or that you treat your wife like a lab rat.
You have to. What is the point of being a scientist if you can't run experiments? I'm just waiting to have kids, baby. They're going to be real.
Husband of the Year award goes to Dr. J. Now, final section. Here we go. Classic creative.
Tom, can I make a suggestion? You're fired!
Welcome to eternity.
Flowers grow low, then they die. Rivers flow low, then run dry.
Heaven.
But a kiss is a kiss for a time. And forever.
Wait a minute. Where am I?
Got milk.
Got Milk. There we have it. That was the original Got Milk creative, and it definitely had an evolution from there. Dr. J.
It was funny. As soon as I started playing this to rewatch it, as soon as I saw the first frame, the whole thing came flooding back to me. That is a sign of a good ad, where the memory print is so deep that all you need is the barest amount of retrieval, and everything comes in and you're like, damn, I even felt young like I used to when I was watching it. I got the feeling. That is such a dang good ad. To be fair, watching it now, I think it could have been 20 seconds shorter, but that's just me. And I think they started making them shorter and shorter and shorter. But this is you want storytelling? Here's how you tell a story. Within less than 5 seconds, they already established an entire character, who he is, and the fact that we all hate him. And that's just in what he says to a phone, how he bumps into an old lady, snickers at a bunch of people, gets hit by a car. In 5 seconds, they established a character better than the entire Twilight saga did in 2 hours. From there, then we're like, what is going to happen? And so what they did, they just take you on a very simple narrative. Oh, turning action. We're now in heaven. Everything's beautiful. Everything's great. Climax. Uh-oh, there's the twist. Everything's bad. And this guy actually gets his comeuppance, which makes us as the audience happy. And my gosh, the hero of the story was milk. The one thing that separates heaven from hell is milk. You want someone to like your product? All you got to do is make them think milk is heaven. Congratulations, you win the day. That is just this. There's nothing really to fault at all with that ad.
Look, I agree. The one thing I get nervous about is when brands love prediction break or like humor or that becomes the hero. Whereas the story was really the hero, but you just constantly going, oh, that's new, that's new, that's new, that's new. And then all of a sudden it was just that twist right at the end. And it was just the punchline. And the clever thing about it is also you look at the overarching principles, the two that we've got for all 12 of the principles. So it's you got to get attention, which they did from the get-go. In the first 5 seconds, not only have you established the story, as you mentioned, but, it's like, bang, here is what's going on. I want to find out what's going on. I'm now intrigued. I'm in, what's going to happen next. So you're in the story. So you've got my attention, but it was so simple. Like the narrative, it's not too complex. You follow all the way through, and right at the end, the hero is the product. Not only that, you've got a phrase, got milk, which became part of their branded assets for decades, and people still say it to this day. Yeah. So how do you get a term into someone's vernacular? Keep it simple and punchy. It's like, what's up? You get it into people's vernacular and you anchor your brand to it. But I think even if you rewind and you look at what was the strategy, what were they actually trying to achieve? Very clever. You've got people that have milk in the fridge. I have a cookie or I have something else and I need something to go with it. How do I increase the consumption of milk was the objective. You're anchoring on, if I have a cookie, I need milk. Got milk? No, I don't. Oh, I need more milk. So how do we increase consumption of milk? So you go clever, start to end, genius. They saw huge uplift on the back of this. And, even like the little touches where the got milk has got the little flames coming up just to prove that. I just go, I'd say it's one of the best creatives in the last few decades.
And it shows you that human thinking is narrative. All human thinking is narrative, which means the more you can narratize information, the easier it is for people to take it in, to hold on to it. This commercial has a clear narrative. It has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. And because of that, it's real hard to forget the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's just a natural pattern where we go, yeah, oh, that milk commercial. I totally remember what the next step should be. And sure enough, there it was.
So just this, I'm actually going to hijack some of your material from this morning. So there was a study that you were actually summarizing this morning, and correct me if any of my information is wrong or my recall is out. I think there was 3 different components to it. One is just some data or some numbers or some evidence or whatever it was. One was tied to a human narrative or an individual or a story. And one was just a narrative that didn't involve a human. And I think it was 63% of the sample recalled either of the narratives. And then it was 40% thereabouts where it was just the numbers or just the raw information. So it was quite a difference in the variables. Yeah. And that was tested immediately after. And then I think it was 7 days later, retest. What was the long-term impact of recall? And I can't remember, but I think it was something like 35% with narrative v 20% with no narrative.
And that's just shows you how easy narrative becomes. You do nothing else but wrap information up into a narrative, or use a narrative to frame information, or use a story to introduce information. And all of a sudden we saw, just even from this one simple study, that's a 23% boost immediate retention. And that stays at 15%. So both dropped 50% over the next 7 days, which is exactly what you'd expect. Human memory drops pretty rapidly, but it didn't drop any more rapidly. So not only was it good for immediate recall, but it sustained that recall as long as normal memory. And it was nothing more than just adding a little story. Here you go. Here's a narrative. Here's a beginning. Here's a middle. Here's an end. And that's where the information sits.
But that's interesting, because I think where you get your story right is where the brand, and this is more advertising now, if your brand is also the hero of the story.
Yeah.
Where I think regardless, you'll still do a better job. But it's interesting, that's 50% variance between your control and narrative. And one thing about story that really hit home to me, I remember being at Ayers Rock, and we're at dinner, and it was one of those twilight dinners under the stars where you're under there and you had, people talking about Dreamtime and, Indigenous culture. Yeah. And just the way they used to navigate. One of the stories that stuck with me was being in a tribe and how they'd use story, dance, and song to tell narratives about, everything from kangaroos to koalas and everything else in between. But it was all analogies and metaphors for how do I navigate through the land to ensure that I don't go into someone else's territory unannounced, or I can find watering holes, or I can find food, what not to eat. No, that's poisonous, or what I should eat. But it was all intertwined with story. Like, it's not recall, it was story. So you need to go, what's the story? And when you've got the narrative combined with song and dance, I'm not sure if you've seen any study with story that's intertwined with song, or especially dance as well. Like, I imagine it's exponentially deeper, the level of memory.
Yep. Especially if you're the one who has to then enact it, it gets even crazier. That's where you start to see memory becomes ridiculously deep. When you're the one who has to tell the story, sing the story, dance the story, watch when you don't have a choice, you remember everything. And it's the enacting. Watching it is good, enacting it is better. And so take that. So this study came out a couple weeks ago. So there's the number one memory study for memory champions. So this is if you want memory. Don't take this like a good memory technique in the real world. This is if you need to memorize a deck of cards, or if you need to memorize where things are. But it's called method of Loci, or method of Loki, excuse me. No, it is Loci. It's the one you don't think it should be. It's Loki. Okay. The method of Loki. And all you do is
watching a Marvel series.
It's, oh man, what is it? And you walk yourself in your head, you build like a palace or a house. So you can take even your own house, and then you just mentally walk through your house, because we all know space very well. And you just put random, really strong images in the different rooms of your house. You tie those images to information. And then anytime you need to remember the information, you just take a walk mentally through your house. There you go. That's been the number one memory technique forever. Memory Palace. Look it up. 2 weeks ago, they published a paper where they compared that method to an Aboriginal method of memory, which is similar, where you have land in your mind, a space, but instead of tying really crazy images, you tie a story, you tie a narrative, where the beginning of the story starts at your front door, moves into your kitchen, and the narrative progresses that way. And there was, I think, something like a 20% increase in memory by tying narrative to that technique. Adding narrative, finding a way to, go back to what you were just saying with the Marvel and Loki. There is more information in 10 minutes of a Marvel movie than there is in the entire periodic table. Yet I don't think any human being here listening has ever taken notes during a Marvel movie, or the Avengers are like, I'm going to quiz myself on that. Yet we do all of that for the periodic table. And still, what do you remember more? You remember the narrative, because that ties the information into a way we can easily traverse it. And when I mean narrative, it's not, a lot of advertisers now are confusing that with kind of jokes. So like, I think back to that Jason Momoa ad. People would say that's a narrative. He comes in, he takes off his clothing, and now he's a really thin guy and he watches TV. That's beginning, middle, end. No, that's just a joke. That's not a narrative. There's no character. There's no development. There's no growth. There's no climax. That's a joke. So it's hard to, a lot of people I think are confusing the two. And if you see any really good narrative in an ad, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be a really memorable ad. You're going to go, that was one of the greatest.
Well, you go 1984 by Apple, like that to a T. Do you know?
Yeah. And they even told the story. They even just were telling you the narrative as they were doing it. And it still works. It's just, what is your story you're trying to get across? It's
really interesting. Like, I'm speaking next week to about 450 marketers, business owners, and we're revealing super weapons of influence. And I was talking to arguably one of the best speakers like on the globe at the moment. And he was like, he's facilitating, it's his event.
Yeah.
And we had a session on Monday, and he was just running through the content. How are you feeling about it? All the rest of it. And he's like, how much big stage speaking have you done? I've done a little bit, but not a huge amount. And he was just going through process and systems and basically getting to how he could help assist me and coach. And it came back to this. He's like, tell great stories that relate and use metaphors, analogies all throughout.
Yeah.
He's like, that is the key. Do not come in data, numbers, evidence, because everyone will switch off. You'll lose them in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Tell interesting, engaging stories, use metaphors, use analogies, like become a great storyteller. And I just thought like that just sort of ties off what we're talking about there.
Yeah. And that is the science of advertising.
Dr. J, thank you so much. I'll let you get to your dinner. And mate, always a pleasure.